Happy New Year, everybody. My goodness. It is so good to see you, and thank you so much for joining this afternoon. Some of you may have already heard one or more of my presentations, and I'm assuming if you're on this webinar that you have a long-term care insurance policy, possibly, or maybe you're in the midst of a claim or you're trying to figure out what to do because your premium has gone up. And so if you have any questions about your long-term care insurance policy, you can see my contact information right here. You can reach me at linda.jahnke, Jahnke, at jcltca.com. And my office number is 858-513-8351. So we're just going to go ahead and jump right on in. A little bit about myself. My husband and I started our long-term care insurance agency in 1987, which is a really long time ago, because I remember distinctly that I was pregnant with my first son and he is now 35 years old. And so that's a long time to be doing one thing. Because of that, I have been involved or am familiar with every single long-term care insurance policy that was ever available in California. And so whatever company you have, I am able to understand it. If you have CalPERS also, we do a lot of work with CalPERS. In around 2010, I changed gears a little bit. My clients who I had long-term care insurance policies for began filing claims. And while some of them didn't have a problem whatsoever, there were quite a few that had lots of problems. And as a result of that, I decided to become a patient advocate. In fact, and I share this story and without going into too much detail, but I think it's important that you understand why I am a patient advocate. One of my clients had filed a claim with her long-term care insurance policy, and she ended up passing away in her home as a result of a caregiver that probably should not have been looking after her because they were not skilled to do so. So in addition to her passing away prematurely, her claim had stalled. And her claim stalled because she didn't call the insurance company back, return a phone call to do an interview, and she didn't sign a form. And I can tell you, after years of filing claims and filing hundreds and hundreds of claims, it's these little things that get people into trouble. It's not because people aren't deserving of their benefit, or it's not because they're not eligible for money. It's because for whatever reason, they're just not able to follow the process. But before I get into that, I'm going to explain a little bit about long-term care insurance, because I'm assuming that you want to know a little bit about what you have. So most people buy their policies and they keep them in a little file, and they don't look at them for 10, 15, 20, even 30 years. And in general, policies are going to look like this piggy bank. In other words, your policy that you have most likely has been growing in value, because odds are you added what's called an inflation rider on it. But backing up a little bit, when you bought your policy, you had to select a couple benefits. The first benefit you had to select is how much you want the policy to pay for your care at home, in an assisted living facility, or in a skilled nursing facility. Most people have in their policies right now benefits that will pay anywhere from $4,000 a month all the way up to $15,000 a month. And you're probably in that range somewhere. And what that means is that in the event that you are needing care, and I'll talk about what that means in a little bit, that you can kind of crack open your piggy bank and that money will be paid to you at a daily rate based on what your policy has grown to. Now, many of you probably have had rate increases over the years. And as a result of that, a lot of people have been offered options to reduce their coverage. And many people that I meet may have done this a couple years ago and they don't even remember what their benefits are. So it's very important that you pull your policy out. Even if you don't have a current schedule page, we can get on the insurance, we can call the insurance company with you, we can get on the phone with you, and you can give us authorization and we can find out exactly how much your policy is worth. We want to know how much it's going to pay. We want to know how long it's going to pay for. Now, many of you have policies, for example, that you bought and it would pay for 3 years. Now, I'm going to explain that in a little bit, but if you have a policy that has a limit, it doesn't mean that you should be frugal or concerned about filing a claim because you only have a few years. I'm going to explain why it's important that you understand the piggy bank concept. So what that means is your policy has a set dollar amount that you're allowed to use. Now, the other thing that's important to know is the gobbledygook in the contract language. And again, insurance policies are contracts. And so a lot of times I'll talk to clients and they'll say, well, I have this situation, or I do have a diagnosis of this situation or this medical issue. And because of that, I should be able to get my benefits. I need transportation. I need somebody to help me clean up my house. I need somebody to go to the grocery store with me. And it's very important that you understand under what circumstances these policies will pay for your care. So the terminology is very important. So the first thing is, where will these policies pay? Most likely, you all have policies that are called comprehensive. And what that means is these policies will follow you along what's called the care continuum. You'll probably start off receiving services in your home by a home care provider. These policies will not pay for family members to provide services for you in general. There are a few contracts that are very flexible like that, but in general, most policies require that you have a professional home care agency to care for you, like Comfort Keepers or Visiting Angels or something like that. The other area that these policies will pay for is a place called assisted living facilities. The technical term is residential care facilities for the elderly. Those could be little board and care facilities that might be caring for 5 to 8 people. They could be memory care facilities that are very boutique-y, that only specialize and focus on individuals who have memory care, such as Active Care or Monarch Cottage. If you're living in the La Jolla area, you're familiar with that one. Then the other area where these policies will pay is in a skilled nursing facility. And I remember when I first started selling long-term care insurance years ago, people would buy it because they'd say, I am so worried I'm going to go to a nursing home, and that's so very expensive. And in all of the years that I've been doing this, I can say no more than 10 of my clients, and all the clients that we have actually gone to a nursing home, stayed in a nursing home to receive care, and not come out. So in general, these policies more often, 70% of the time, are going to pay at home. And then as people progress along the care continuum, they usually can go to assisted living facilities and generally do not need to be in a nursing home. Skilled nursing facilities right now focus more on the rehab, such as if you were to be rehabilitating from a broken hip or a knee replacement or a hospitalization, an infection or something like that. In general, the only individual that would necessarily go to a skilled nursing facility is somebody who has a feeding tube, has some type of an appliance whereby they need a skilled nursing person to take care of it, or if they are on Medi-Cal and do not have resources to pay privately anywhere else. So in general, your policy is probably going to pay for your care at home, most likely, or in an assisted living facility. And now the second thing is, so we know where they're going to pay. Now, under what conditions are they going to pay? So the policy says this: you have 2 roads you can go down in the event that you need care. The first road is more of a physical, functional type road. The second path would be a cognitive path. And so you can choose, depending on what your situation is, to file a claim and go down either path. Well, which one is easier? That's a great question. If you have a cognitive impairment and you want to file a claim because you need continual supervision, or somebody in your family needs to file a claim for you because you need somebody to supervise you, then if you file a claim for a cognitive impairment, then that would mean that you don't necessarily need somebody to physically help you get in and out of the shower or put your clothing on, but that you do need supervision for safety. The other road to go down, and many of our claims are based in this, would be functional or physical structural problems, such as somebody who has severe osteoporosis. And we will be able to share the PDF with you, so you do not need to take notes. If you have, I'll just give you an example really quick. I have clients who have severe osteoporosis, and bending over and making the bed can literally fracture their back. And so in a situation like that, an individual would need help to bend over or not bend over and put their socks and shoes on, or to help with a jacket, definitely getting in and out of the shower. So in the event a person needs assistance with just 2 activities of daily living, and what I mean by that would be these terms right here: bathing, dressing, transferring, toileting, continence care, eating, mobility. So if you need assistance, meaning that you need somebody to stand by while you're completing that task for your safety, or you literally need somebody to physically help you, if you need help with 2 of those things, then you should think about filing a claim. Now, one thing I want to say about this: so many times we get claims where spouses have been providing care support for their loved one, their spouse, for years, not even realizing that they're actually helping that person with their activities of daily living. They just don't realize it because that's what spouses do for one another. And when I meet with couples like that, I say, well, you know, we need to check the boxes here. Tell me, do you need help getting in and out of the shower? And more often than not, the spouse will say to me, no, I don't need help. But what they are not realizing is, if they just for a moment saw themselves living alone without their spouse with them, not helping them in any way, now let's talk about those questions again. And so I have them envision that if your spouse was not here, would you get in and out of the shower by yourself? And generally they say, no way. I always do that when my spouse is here because I'm afraid that I would fall. Or no, I would never walk outside by myself because I am afraid that I would fall. Or no, I need help getting out of my chair. If I didn't have my lift chair, I wouldn't be able to get out of my chair. What about dressing? I ask them often, are you able to get shoes and socks on? And here in Southern California, except during these times when it's just so rainy and chilly, most people just wear slip-on Crocs or slip-on slippers. Not to say that that's a good thing, but they don't put socks on because it's too difficult. They should be wearing compression hose, but they don't do it because they're really hard to get on. And so when I start talking to them about these things, then they realize, oh, I guess I am needing a little bit more help than I realized. And so this is part of the problem with people in filing claims. They look at their surroundings and they believe, and they have accommodated quite well for what's going on. But what they don't realize is that's the time that they actually need to file a claim, possibly, and get a support system in place. Now, why do I say that? I say that because more often I'm meeting with people when they're kind of in a crisis situation where things have just gotten so bad and their spouse is so exhausted, or their spouse themselves are experiencing some health problems. And then you have to staff a lot and spend a little bit more money. Whereas starting slow and introducing a home care support team and trying to feel that out to see what that is like is a lot easier when you're not in a stressful situation. So when a person files a claim, there's a whole process, and I'm going to talk about that in a moment. But what the insurance company is looking for is they want to know, what do you need help with? And a lot of times that question sounds like to a policyholder, I'm unable. And how many of us and who of us at any time would want to present ourselves as being unable? Nobody. And so that's why these things are misunderstood and people are not getting their claims filed because they don't realize that they're actually at a place where they should. Now, what I want to talk about really quick are rate increases. And the reason I talked about the claims and how to use the policy first is because this is what I see all the time. You get a rate increase. CalPERS, as you know, if you have CalPERS, is doing that quite a bit, or Genworth is having lots of rate increases right now. And our clients are, for example, in their late 70s or early 80s, and they get this notification, they get this rate increase, and they are just so upset about it because their premiums are going up 25, 30, 40, 50%. And they're thinking, you know what? I'm 80 years old. I haven't needed it so far. I'm just going to drop this thing, or I'm going to take one of the options that this insurance company is offering me. When you get a rate increase, by law, it is required that these insurance companies give you options. And the options look like this. They'll say, hey, we'll pay you a certain amount of money. We'll give you $5,000 cash, but we're going to cut your benefits in half, but you don't have to pay premiums anymore. Or we're going to cut your benefits down to a certain amount and your premium is going to be a little bit. So there's all kinds of iterations, and these forms are very confusing because sometimes they could be 7, 8, 10 pages long that people have to read through all of these disclosures, and they just throw their hands up and say, forget it, just give me my money back. And I don't know if it's designed to do that to people, but at the point at which you're in your late 70s, early 80s, this is not the time to drop or reduce your coverage. And so a lot of times what we'll do is we'll look at the options with our clients and help them figure out what to do. But in no event should anybody ever be dropping their coverage, ever, especially if, for example, you're between 70 to 80. The reason I say you should keep your benefits in place is because guess what? You can't buy anything else. And thank goodness you haven't had any health problems, and thank goodness you haven't needed to use it, and hopefully you'll never use it. But the fact is, the older you get, the magic age, for example, is between 82 to 85, possibly to file a claim. And of course, that number is increasing because people are living quite a bit longer now. The other thing is, if you have had any significant health issues, if you've had a neurological diagnosis or any functional limitations, even if you have a terminal diagnosis, you definitely do not want to be changing any of your benefits around whatsoever, because here's why. Remember this, with most policies, if you were to file a claim, if you were to be getting your benefits, your premium stops. So let's say you're in that camp and you get ticked off because you have this rate increase and you've had it, but you know that because your health has changed or you have a diagnosis that you think you might be filing a claim maybe in a couple years, you don't want to reduce your coverage, because when you file and you start getting your benefits, you're not going to be paying that premium anyway, most likely. And so you don't want to reduce your coverage. The other thing is ages 50 to 70, there might be some wiggle room for you with some other options, such as buying a hybrid policy. And a hybrid policy, I don't know that any of you on this program have. You're welcome to ask me about it. But I can tell you with certainty that the vast majority of people that have come to me and said, please, I want to get rid of my CalPERS or my Genworth or whatever, I want to buy a hybrid policy, I can't get them coverage because their health has changed. And so if you are thinking about doing something like that, you just want to keep your coverage in place, pay your current coverage maybe monthly until you get your new policy, and then you can drop the one that's been driving you crazy. But under no circumstance should you ever just cancel your coverage because you're afraid of what's going to happen to your premium. It's going to go up, or you're just concerned, or you're just angry. Call me before you make any decisions. Now, this webinar is designed specifically to talk about how to use your policies, how to use a policy that nobody ever thought they'd use. Most people that I sold long-term care insurance to, including myself, I have a policy that I've had for over 20 years. I don't think I'll ever use it. I hope I'll never use it. In fact, I hope the insurance company gets lots of my premium dollars and I pass away in my sleep and I don't have to worry about that. But that's probably not going to happen to most of us. Why we do what we do, why we file claims for people, is because this event is ongoing. So unlike a car accident or a flood in your home or something, like that, that takes your property out, or you have an event, it's going to be fixed and it's over with. This type of a claim is not like that. This type of a claim, once you open a claim and you start receiving care, you certainly can get better and not need services anymore, but that's not likely. Most people that file a claim don't come off claim and they continue to receive care until they pass away. And by virtue of that, what does that mean? What that means is that somebody that you know and who cares for you and who understands your situation has got to be looking over that process to make sure that the insurance company is aware of every single change that's happening to you, because that will affect your benefits. What do I mean by that? Well, most of our clients that we are assisting, right now we have about 200 open claims. And of that number, the vast majority of them are in their home getting care. But every single month we have something going on with one of our families whereby they need more services, and we're changing out the home care agency. We're bringing in physical therapy. We're bringing in a care manager, meaning when I say we're bringing in, I'm saying that we are helping our families find resources because their care is getting complex, and or they're choosing to move into an assisted living facility or memory care facility. And every time our clients have a change like that, the insurance company considers it a new claim or a new event. And so that has to be reported and overseen. So when you start out filing a claim, and I didn't know this until we started doing it for our clients, there's always an 800 phone number, and the insurance company says, please call. Just give us a call and report your claim. And that's perfectly fine. You can do that. But what happens in that event is you're going to be passed to a claim specialist, and they're going to start asking you questions. And those questions are going to be similar to what I was talking about earlier with the activities of daily living. And if you do not understand what they're looking for, and I'm not saying to tell them information that's not true, but I'm saying for you to be educated and to understand what the claims adjuster is waiting to hear from you so that you can move on to the next step. So what I mean is this: you call the insurance company and they pass you through to intake, and they ask you these questions. Are you able to shower yourself safely and without fault? Everybody says yes, even though most people should not say yes to that question if they're infirmed or quite elderly. They should not say that yes, because that's not a safe thing to do. The second thing they'll say is, well, of the times that you do that event or that activity, can you do it by yourself 50% of the time? Can you do it by yourself 70% of the time? And most people have that sense within them that when they're talking to an authority person, they don't want to lie, for sure. They don't want to make a mistake, and they want to be very honest and clear with their answers. And then they start thinking, well, gosh, maybe I can do that. Maybe I am able to do that myself. And what we tell people is not to be afraid to think about what it would be like if somebody was not in their home helping them. So we do the intake interview for our clients. We do that for them. We say, we will do that for you. We meet our clients. We know about their health information. We have their health information from their portal, their health portal, or from the facility. And we do those interviews for them so we can answer those questions precisely. Then we help our clients when they have an on-site interview. The insurance company is going to send a nurse out, go through the same rigmarole again. So you got to answer those questions again. And again, everybody, we want people to put their best foot forward, but frankly, we really don't. We tell people these assessments are not the time to pull yourself up by your bootstraps, so to speak, and, present your better self. These assessments are designed to see what really is going on with that person when nobody's around. The other thing that we do is we collect all the documents. So unfortunately, even though everything is still very technologically based, these insurance companies want documents, and technology is fabulous, but oftentimes it fails. And so faxes don't go through, emails don't go through. We make sure that things are getting to the insurance company because we have a very intricate system that tells us that everything's been received. So we know what we sent has been received, and we can count on the fact that they're looking at what they need to see to approve our client's claim. The other thing that we do is we handle all the invoices. We make sure we see the invoices, we know what's being charged by the providers, so that at the end of the month, we can reconcile our client's account with the insurance company and make sure that it's proper. So think about it this way. Most of you, if you're on Medicare, you just get statements every now and again, but you're not necessarily paying for your care. So you're not really managing the insurance documents at your doctor's back office. And you might get a statement like an EOB that shows what was charged, what was paid, what was approved, what was denied, but you generally don't have to pay in general. On our end, what we do that for our clients. We look at what was charged, we look at what was paid, and we make sure that it's correct based on the contract language, and the monies go right into our client's bank account. Then the last thing that we do, the insurance carriers do what's called a recertification. They come checking back to make sure that our clients still need the services. And they do that in the first year of the claim every 4 to 6 months. And so they'll be calling us on the phone, or they'll be asking for documents, and we have to comply with that for our clients. So you can imagine if you're in an assisted living facility and your adult children or people in your family have their lives and they're working, and you're getting your mail and you're opening these letters from the insurance company and they're saying, we need a list of these things. And you can imagine how overwhelming that is for people. So we get our clients' mail and we look at that list of things and we go get those for our clients so they don't have to worry about it. So going to go back to this page because I want to answer questions if there are questions. I said that I would give a presentation of about 30 minutes because I think answering questions and hearing what you all have to say is probably more important. So I just wanted to put up once again my information so you can have it. And I am going to really quick stop sharing.